Sometimes the most powerful support in cancer treatment doesn't come from some brand new, super high-tech drug. Sometimes it comes from a place you'd never expect, like a simple, essential mineral.
So let me ask you this. What if something so basic, so fundamental, could actually be a game changer for modern cancer therapies? Well, today we're going to dig into the fascinating evidence that says it absolutely can. And here's why this is such a big deal. The data we're about to unpack points to a potential doubling of relative survival for some cancer patients, all connected to their magnesium levels. Now, that's not just a small adjustment, that is a huge, monumental difference.
Okay, so let's get one thing straight right off the bat. Magnesium is not a cancer treatment, not at all. Instead, what new research is showing is that it's a crucial partner, a key factor that can really influence how well-established medical therapies actually work.
And look, this isn't just a wild guess or some fringe idea. We are talking about large-scale analyses of real patient data from peer-reviewed studies that are all pointing to this same powerful connection between this one mineral and patient outcomes.
Now, this is where it gets really exciting. Let's talk about one of the biggest frontiers in oncology, immunotherapy. This is where the evidence for magnesium's role just becomes so incredibly compelling.
And let's be clear about the scale we're talking about here. This isn't some tiny study with a handful of people. We're looking at a multi-center study that analyzed the records of over 1,400 patients. All of them were getting a specific type of immunotherapy called immune checkpoint inhibitors. That kind of scale gives these findings some serious weight.
So what did this study find? Well, the pattern was just crystal clear. Patients who had higher levels of magnesium in their system saw better results across the board. For lung cancer, it translated to significantly longer overall survival. For esophageal cancer, survival outcomes were way better. And for Hodgkin lymphoma, it was linked to a better treatment response. Now, you're going to hear that term overall survival, or OS, a lot. So what does it actually mean? Well, it's pretty much the gold standard in cancer research. It's the total time that patients are still alive after they're diagnosed or start treatment. So yeah, finding a link to longer OS, that's a profoundly big deal.
But you don't have to take my word for it. This quote from the researchers says it all. They called it an independent prognostic factor. What that means is that even when they accounted for all the other things that could affect the outcome, a patient's magnesium level, all by itself, was a predictor of how they would do. That is a powerful statement.
Okay, but the story doesn't stop with immunotherapy. Not by a long shot. This connection between magnesium and better treatment outcomes is starting to show up in other areas of cancer care too. It really seems to be part of a much bigger picture that's coming into focus. It's like the more scientists look, the more they find this pattern popping up all over the place. Whether it's targeted drug therapies or chemoradiation, the same theme keeps emerging. Having enough magnesium seems to be critically important.
And the correlations are just striking. I mean, check this out. For metastatic colorectal cancer patients taking a specific drug, higher magnesium was linked to 27% higher survival. In head and neck cancer, low magnesium was a direct predictor of shorter survival, and for a type of non-Hodgkin lymphoma, it meant a 1.4 times longer response to stem cell therapy. The evidence is just building and building from all these different angles. So this all leads to the big question, right? Why? What is this simple mineral actually doing inside our bodies that could have such a massive impact? Let's get into the science of it.
It pretty much boils down to this. Magnesium is essential fuel for your immune system. Think of your T cells as the elite soldiers of your immune army. They're the ones that immunotherapy unleashes to hunt down and destroy cancer cells. Well, magnesium is what powers them up. And you can really see the difference it makes. On one hand, with low magnesium, those T cells just can't function properly. The whole immune response is weaker, which can really limit how well a treatment works. But on the other hand, with plenty of magnesium, those T cells are optimized, they're ready to go, strengthening that immune response and helping to get the absolute best results from therapy.
Okay, so this research is absolutely fascinating, but let's bring it back to you. What does this all actually mean in the real world? How can we turn this knowledge into something useful and actionable?
All right, first things first, and this is probably the most important thing I'm going to say today. This is not medical advice. The whole point of this explainer is to empower you. It's to give you the information you need to have smarter, more informed conversations with your doctor and your whole oncology team.
So with that in mind, here's a really practical, safe way to approach that conversation. First step, monitor.
You can just ask about keeping an eye on your magnesium levels during treatment. Second step, support. You can talk about the best ways to keep those levels healthy, whether that's through diet, things like leafy greens, nuts, seeds, or maybe supplements. And third, discuss. Just have an open conversation about this research and how it might fit into your personal care plan.
It really leaves you with a final thought, doesn't it? In our constant search for the next complex, cutting-edge solution, you have to wonder, could some of our biggest breakthroughs be hidden in the simplest of elements, just waiting for us to finally understand their true power?